Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah.
Yes.
Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers.
According to this.
In the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith Yahweh. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days.
After those days, after his death, burial, and resurrection. Read.
Saith Yahweh, I will put my law in their inward parts.
He's going to put his law in their inward parts. Read.
And write it in their hearts.
Write it in their hearts.
And will be their Elohim.
He will be their Elohim.
And they shall be my people.
And they shall be my people.
And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahweh, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them.
And they shall all know him from the least to the greatest.
Saith Yahweh, for I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
Now, he's going to not even remember their sin anymore. So he's bringing in a new covenant for the children of Israel, but he had to fulfill that old covenant. Read.
2 Corinthians 3, 1-3. Do we begin to commend ourselves? Or need we, as some others, epistles of commendation to you, or letters of commendation from you? Ye are our epistles written in our hearts, known and read of all men. For as much as ye are manifestly declared to be the epistle of the Messiah, ministered by us, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living Elohim.
Okay, now this old covenant, not necessarily written in ink, but it was written on tables of stones. So it's not written on ink, it's written in our heart and in our mind.
Not in tables of stone, but in fleshly tables of the heart.
In fleshly tables of the heart. Okay. Now, if that's it, you want to continue?
Remember that it was the second set of tables of stone with the law written on them that Moses placed in the ark, for he threw down to the ground and broke the first tables. Exodus 32 and 19 and Exodus 34, 1-4.
He threw down that first table of stones, and you say, oh my goodness, Moses, the creator of the universe done wrote on some stones, and you just going to throw them down and break it because you had a little temper tantrum? No, that was meant to be. These stones were meant to be broken because they were going to be replaced with another, because the new covenant will be written in your heart and in your mind. Okay, read.
Exodus 32:19. And it came to pass, as soon as he came nigh unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger waxed hot.
Okay, now this is when Moses comes down with this first tables of stone. And what does he see? Them dancing or worshiping a golden calf. And now the first law was not to have any Elohim before him that was under the earth, above the earth, through the earth, whatever. So they had already broken that commandment that was written on those tables of stone. Read.
And Moses' anger waxed hot, and he cast the tables out of his hands and brake them beneath the mount.
Okay, read.
Exodus 34, 1-4. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first.
2 tables of stone just like the first. Read.
And I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first tables.
Now he's not going to change anything. It's going to be the same words that were written on the first table of stones is going to be written on the second table of stones. Read.
Which thou breakest, and be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning unto Mount Sinai, and present thyself there to me in the top of the mount.
Okay.
And no man shall come up with thee, neither let any man be seen throughout all the mount.
Now hold it. He said, and no man shall come up with thee. Now, go ahead and read.
neither let the flocks nor herds feed before the mount. And he hewed 2 tables of stone
He
like
hewed 2 tables of stone,
unto the first.
and no animals or anything were supposed to touch that mount. Go ahead.
And Moses rose up early in the morning and went up unto Mount Sinai, as Yahweh had commanded him,
Right.
and took in his hand the 2 tables of stone.
The 2 tables, this was the second that he had gotten really from the base and brought up. Read.
This was done to show that the Israel would break the first or Mosaic covenant, and that Yahweh would make a new covenant with them, which he would not write on tables of stone, but in the fleshly tables of their heart. Jeremiah 31:31, we already did this in 2 Corinthians 3:1-3. The number 10 stands for concreteness, typifying the unity of the Spirit, being manifest through the 3 ages, the antediluvian age, the post-diluvian age, and the present age.
Now the 3 ages, 3, 3, 3, and then 1.
And all standing for one, all standing for the one Yahweh.
All standing for the one Yahweh.
3 times 3 plus 1 equals 10.
Very simple math. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9, plus 1 equals 10, or the number 1 means that it's concrete. Okay?
The infant in the womb is also under a 10 commandment law.
Now this infant in the womb is also under a 10 commandment law. Read.
For it is
Incarcerated. For real this time.
That's why I'm looking at it. For it is incarcerated in the womb for 280 days, or 10 lunar months, or 40 weeks.
Can you grab the whiteboard for me, please? I just want to go through a little something.
Keep reading.
Yeah, go ahead and continue reading.
While in the womb, these 10 months, it is developed or directed according to an infallible spirit law that makes its growth proceed along a certain predetermined course that will ensure a perfectly formed baby at the expiration of this time period.
Okay, now this baby is going to go through stages. Each baby goes through basically the same thing, unless there's some deformity or something happens. They all follow the same pattern. And remember, she said 10 months. And remember, I always thought, child, 9 months of pregnancy. That's what I always thought. But it says 10 months. Okay? 10 lunar. Lunar months, right. Go ahead.
Man does not have anything to do with this direction.
Now, man didn't have a doggone thing to do with the baby being formed the way it is formed, right? Read.
Another one of the without hand affairs.
It's another without hand. That's a good point. So this is without hands, that this baby is following this process before birth, okay? Go ahead.
So seeing that this fetus is commanded to act in accord with the law of its development, during the 10 months that it is in the womb, it is virtually under a 10 commandment law, as though a law went forth each month to direct its development. We are no longer therefore under the 10 commandment law of Moses, but under the law of spirit of life, which was in Yahshua the Messiah, and we are led and controlled by this law of spirit, Holy Ghost, which is in us and directs us unerringly. Romans 8:1-14.
Okay, read that, and then I want you to read this.
Romans 8:1. Therefore is there no condemnation to them which are in Yahshua the Messiah, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life in Yahshua the Messiah hath made me free from the law of sin and death.
Now it's made you free from the law of sin and death, and that's what this old covenant law pointed to. It was a law that pointed out sin, and it only led to death. But we're talking about a spiritual law, and that's shown forth in the development of the baby in utero, that there's 10 lunar months. So I want you to read this, because I was like, what the heck is a lunar month? You know, why do they say there's 10 lunar months, and I'd be like, girl, you 9 months pregnant, you about to deliver. What's the difference? Why lunar month? Read.
Lunar month.
Definition.
Lunar month. Okay, lunar month. Noun. One. A month measured between successive new moons, roughly 29 and a half days.
Okay.
In general use.
Hold it. You said 29
and
a half.
Days.
Okay. And that's from new moon to new moon, right?
Yes.
New to new. And you know what a new moon is, right? Where you don't see no moon. If they call it a new moon, it's just beginning to go through its phases of the moon. So they count from new moon to new moon. That's a moon phase. So that equals 29 and a half days. Now that didn't make sense to me when I looked at this 280 days for the gestation of a baby, they say, in lunar months. So why is it 280 instead of 295? You just moved the decimal over one. So let's look at the other definition of lunar. You don't have it? Oh, I thought it was on here. My ink ran out. Oh no, there it is. Your eyes ran out right there.
Oh, yeah. I'll repeat it. In general use, a period of 4 weeks.
Okay, that's what I want. Generally used is a period of 4 weeks. So when they say a lunar month, they count 4 weeks, and that is a lunar month instead of going through this 29.5. Now, the other thing about the moon is some of those days, one of the days that I saw in there was 27.3, I believe. And so why the difference between 29 and 27? Well, I believe it's in the winter months, the moon is orbiting the earth, and it takes a longer time for it to get around. But in the summer, it goes quicker, so it only takes 27.3. So there's a difference. It's not the same amount of time every month for a lunar month. So they just, I guess for pregnancy, when they talk about lunar month, they just use 4 weeks. So when you divide this, I think you divide it by 4. Is that right? How many times is 4 going? 7. Okay, that ain't gonna work. Don't listen to me. Let's do it this way. I should have did it. I'm trying to show how they calculate. So you have 280.
28 times 10.
28, yeah, 28 times 10. Right. That's it. Because you know what? I used to get D minuses in math. And then I went to school to be an accountant. So I failed miserably and changed my major. But anyway, that's how they get the 280. Right? 28 times 10. Okay, that's it. Thank you, Graciela. She's the mathematician. I was trying to figure out where do you get the 28? Now, it made sense at home, but when you get up here, everything falls out your brain. 4 weeks times 7 days. Yep. And that equals 28 days in the month. And that equals the lunar month that they're talking about when they're talking about a pregnancy. So when it talks about 40 weeks, that's a lunar weeks, okay? All right, now that we've got that finished, whew, Then I want to talk a little bit about the each month. What happens each month? And it's pretty much a law when they're looking at the woman's progress of her pregnancy. They look at the lunar months. So in the first, I'm going to give this to you. Just read that first bolded print right there.
Stages of growth month by month in pregnancy. First trimester.
Okay, now they talk about the first thing is the first trimester. and it's divided up in threes, which is everything just happens to go in threes. But that first trimester is trimester.
The first trimester will span from the conception to 12 weeks.
Okay, from conception to 12 weeks. That's the first trimester. Go ahead and read.
This is generally the first 3 months of pregnancy. During this trimester, the fertilized egg will change from a small grouping of cells to a fetus that is starting to have a baby's features. Month 1, weeks 1 through 4.
Okay, we don't have to go into all that, but it breaks down what happens each month, what happens to that fetus in utero. So now let's go to the second. Here we go.
5 through 8.
Let's just read the bolded part on here, and then the second bolded part. Yeah, you can leave them. So it talks about at the end of the first trimester.
By the end of the 3rd month, the fetus is fully formed, and all the organs and limbs, extremities are present and will continue to develop in order to become functional. This circulatory and urinary systems are also working, and the liver produces bile.
Okay, now that's just at the end of the first trimester, the first 3 months. That baby is fully formed. That's why people who talk about abortion have a problem with women getting abortions after a certain period of time, because then that fetus begins to actually look like a human baby. But really, it's human all along. Once conception takes place, there is a new life. Okay? Read the other bolded part.
Second trimester.
Now we're talking about the second trimester. Read.
This middle section of pregnancy is often thought of as the best part of the experience.
Now this is called the best part of the experience. Read.
By this time, any morning sickness is probably gone, and the discomfort of early pregnancy has faded.
Okay. By the time you get to the second trimester, it is a little bit better, because in the beginning, your eyes throwing up, your hormones are going crazy, all kinds of things are going on. But by the second trimester, things seem to settle down. Go ahead.
The fetus will start to develop facial features during this month. You may also start to feel a movement as the fetus flips and turns into the uterus. During this trimester, many people find out whether their baby will be designated male or female at birth. This is typically done during an anatomy scan and ultrasound that checks physical development around 20 weeks.
Okay. So now let's go to the third trimester. So you can see the baby is just really beginning to develop and look more like what we think a baby should look like. And this is where it says the final. I don't think I bolded that one.
The third trimester. This is the final part of your pregnancy. You may be tempted to start the countdown till your due date and hope that it will come early. But each week of this final stage of development helps the fetus prepare for birth. Throughout the third trimester, the fetus gains weight quickly, adding body fat that will help after birth.
And that's what the last part of the pregnancy is where that baby begins to put on weight. And that's very important. Yes.
Are we going 3 months at a time?
No, these are trimesters. This is the first trimester, which is week 1 through 3.
Month 1 through 3,
The second trimester is month 4 through 7.
4, 5, 6.
7. You go to 7. And then, yeah, they're lunar months. And then the third trimester is 8, 9, 10. But there's 4 months in the middle section. So there's 3 in the first, 4 in the middle, and then 3 at the end. And that's how they divide it up into trimesters. Okay. And a baby at the end of this part right here, the 7th week, they'd have a hard time surviving if they are delivered during this time. It's because their lungs are not completely developed. So if they do make it, they're usually in intensive care. They have to be cared for over time. Yeah, they have to be real careful. So, and a lot of times they still have problems if they're born too early. They call them premature. Okay. Yes. Go ahead and read Romans.
Romans 8 and 3. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, Yahweh, sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, because of sin, to condemn sin in the flesh, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit.
Okay.
For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace.
To be carnally minded is death, but spiritually minded is life and peace. And this is definitely a spiritual operation. It's not a physical thing that we do anything. We're just not involved in that, except for, we start throwing up, we start feeling the baby move. We're involved in the labor and all that. But the operation of it is pretty much out of our hands. Okay? Is that it? Or did you have a little more? 14. Go ahead.
Because the carnal mind is at enmity against Yahweh, for it is not subject to the law of Yahweh, neither indeed can it be, so that they that are in the flesh cannot please Yahweh. But ye are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit. If so be that the Spirit of Yahweh dwelleth in you. Now if any man have not the Spirit of the Messiah, he is none of his. And if the Messiah be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Spirit is alive because of righteousness. But if the Spirit of him that raised up Yahshua from the dead dwell in you, he that raised up Yahshua from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his Spirit that dwelleth in you.
And that was Yahweh who raised Yahshua from the dead. Is there more?
Therefore, brethren, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if ye live after the desires of the flesh, ye shall die. But if ye through the Spirit do mortify the desires of the flesh, ye shall live. For as many are led by the Spirit of Yahweh, they are the sons of Yahweh. That's it.
Okay. So this child manifests that cardinal ordinance being filled. Those 10 lunar months has different cycles that this child is under and must go through in order for them to develop into a viable child at birth. Okay? We'll finish out that.
Thus we have shown how that all of the cardinal ordinances, circumcision, ceremonies, water baptism, Lord's suppers, physical sacrifices, and the Ten Commandment law are fulfilled in our physical birthing, typifying that they were all fulfilled by Yahshua in the flesh. When one is born, therefore, of the Spirit, there is no more following of cardinal ordinances, for such old things have passed away, and behold, all things are new.
Right. So that's why Yahshua moved all these cardinal ordinances out of the way and brought us over here. We don't have to do physical things for our salvation. It was all accomplished in him. And when you look at that baby, which she's going to go through that chart next, which has these cardinal ordinances up here on the chart that are fulfilled in utero, it's done without hands. So technically, you don't have to go jump in a pool of water to be physically baptized. When you were baptized in utero, you know, when you read about that, it's just phenomenal to me. We were, I think it's about the 6th month, right here in the 2nd trimester. There is a coating that comes over the baby, and it is called, I wish I could remember what it's called. Vernix. That's it. Vernix. And you know what the other one is? I think something like that is spelled, but it's Vernix and something. Anyway, the word vernix means varnish. The other word means cheesy. Now, it's a white coating that comes all over the baby's body about that time. And you know what the wisdom of Yahweh, because you know, when that baby is here in this water, they just get all pruny. You know, if you stay in water for a long time, your skin all wrinkles up and your feet look funny, your head, because too much water. So Yahweh made a provision for that baby being in that amniotic fluid, which means lamb. The baby is covered by the lamb in utero. That shows you that you're covered by the lamb spiritually, and you, what they call, deliver the baby. And you are delivered, being covered by the lamb. It's just too pretty. Now, this vernix, and I can't think of the other word, it's just a cheesy, it protects the baby's skin from the water. And it was saying that's why after the baby is born, their skin is so soft and you just can't stop touching them, because it's been protected by this cheesy varnish. Yes.
It's called vernix caseosa, or also birthing custard.
No, wait. How do you spell that last word?
Caseosa, Caseosa.
That's it. And this word means cheesy.
Now, vernix is for short, but the whole name is vernix caseosa.
That's right. This is the whole name. And this means varnish. You know how you put varnish or shellac on something? Yeah, cheesy varnish to protect it. Like, it's like your furniture. How do you spell varnish? Varnish. So your baby has got a cheesy varnish on it to protect its skin before it's born. That just popped into my mind as I was thinking about this. How Yahweh he just got everything tight. And if we didn't have this teaching or didn't understand this, we would not understand that the things that baby went through is really pointing to Yahshua the Messiah and how he's our protector. And when he says he's got you covered with the cheesy varnish so you don't get all what happens to you when you get in water? You kind of like wilt up or something, get all wrinkly, and anyway, there's a protection for that. So let's go to that chart.
The fulfillment of cardinal ordinances in the physical body.
Okay.
Ceremonies is number 1. And then it says, infant assumes a bowed down, hands folded across the chest attitude in the womb, signifying the divine reverence during ceremonies.
So we've already covered that in an earlier part, how this baby, he comes with his head all the way down, upside down, his arms folded, and his knees are bent up, like giving reverence to the Creator. We can't even, I don't think we can bow like this baby bows in order to give reverence to the Creator. Go ahead and read.
Sacrifices. Infant offers or exchanges his blood periodically for the blood of the mother, signifying a sacrifice or offering of his life. Blood is the life of the body.
Okay, now the sacrifices in the baby is where there's an exchange of blood between the baby and the mother. And these animals had to give up their life. And we know that the life of the flesh is in the blood. So there is an exchange of a type of a sacrifice in utero without hands. Read.
The Ten Commandment law.
Okay.
Infant is incarcerated in the womb for 10 lunar months. Each passage of a month requires a definite progress in its growth, figurative of being under a law.
Okay, figurative of being under a law. He can't, you can't get it out of order. So the baby won't put on fat in its first trimester. That is at the end when that fat comes on the baby and he gains weight so that he can have something to live off of, because you know the first 3 days after he's born he doesn't get milk. There's what they call colostrum, unless somebody force feeds him formula, which we just looked up today, the difference between formula and breast milk. And breast milk had what? It had under a microscope, it's living and it's alive. But those antibodies, wasn't it?
Yeah,
In-
they said there's 1 million white blood cells in 1 drop of breast milk.
1 million white blood cells in 1 drop of breast milk. Breast milk is bad, okay? I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean in a good way. Breast milk is what the baby needs to survive. Yahweh didn't put carnation in your breast.
There was an article.
I shouldn't have said that.
An article about breast milk also with regard to it varies between what's happening in the morning and the evening, so that the components of it actually makes the baby sleepier.
Oh, that is too cool. She was saying there's components, different components during the day and the night, so that at night it makes the baby sleepier. So you can get some rest so you can produce some more milk to feed them again, because they're eaters. Man, they eat all the time. I get full just thinking about how much that child eats. The other thing about breast milk is that you want the baby to get the first part of the milk, because that's kind of like cream, and then it gets watery after that. So that's going to satisfy them or fill them up. And I remember getting breast milk and, putting it in the refrigerator for later. And there is a cream that comes to the top of the breast milk, just like when you look at cow's milk, they have that cream on the top. So that baby needs that cream because it's going to satisfy their hunger better, especially when they first start sucking. And then it goes to a more watery consistency. But breast milk, you look up the properties of breast milk and you just be overwhelmed at how Yahweh put that together for your little baby. Not no Elsie the cow. Elsie ain't got it going on. I think Elsie is still kicking it. I've seen some cartoons. Cartoons don't die. But that, he just made everything perfect. And then there's that scripture that talks about the sincere milk of the word. That's why you want to have everything simple and plain when people first come into class, so they can be satisfied and understand this teaching, how it really is, and how beautiful it is. So go ahead to the next little.
Lord's Supper. Infant eats while in the womb, as signified by the process of cellular debris, etc., in its intestinal tract at birth. Since this eating is not prepared by human hands, it is Lord's Supper, but it's
It says Lord's Supper there, and that's probably so the people can relate with it, but it's truly the Passover memorial, okay? And the baby takes in, what are they doing? They ain't got nothing else to do. So they gonna swallow a little amniotic fluid. And when they're born, they have what they call Meconium, which is their first bowel movement or the first baby poop. Now, if they never ate anything, there would be no way for them to have a bowel movement. So they've had pretty much 9 months of sucking in all kinds of debris, and they don't call it debris, they call it cellular substance or something. Anyway, they're taking in something by mouth in their stomach, and that's like the Passover supper. So the child is fulfilling the Passover memorial in utero without hands. Okay, nobody's sticking a spoon or a straw in their belly button to try to give the baby a little something to eat. No, it's all done without hands, without man putting his hands in it. Okay, all right. Read the next one.
Circumcision. The membranes which cover the head and the body of the fetus are stripped off in the process of its being born. Being figurative of circumcision, blood is present.
Okay, and we talked about that circumcision before when we went through that part. And that's beautiful too, because whether you're a boy or a girl, you get circumcised without hands. And the circumcision that we have right now coming out of this flesh, or this fleshly mind, is a circumcision without hands. And we were just talking about, I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to Joshua, of how when you first hear the truth, it hurts. And if you could spiritually bleed a little bit, you might bleed a little bit. Although, I was talking to a brother, and he said it was so clear to him, he just accepted it. But not everybody does. Some people come into this teaching kicking and fighting, and no, they don't want to give up their beliefs, and they don't want to be told that they are wrong or they had something wrong, instead of understanding something that is correct with proof. So here you have these two layers that surround the baby in a sack, and once labor begins, that, what do they call that right here, when the cervix, when the baby starts to be born, they call it a show of blood. And that's how you can tell that you're in labor. So there is blood, and that baby just comes out of that sack. So that is circumcision, or cutting away or removal of that flesh without hands. So you have that circumcision without hands right in the birth process. This is so beautiful. There's just no kind of way you can deny the Creator. When He tells you something, it's spot on. He don't leave no holes or no leaks where you can come in with your opinion and try to fix it. It's already been fixed, and it's good. So that concludes.
Baptism.
Oh, shoot. How could I forget my little baptism? Remember the little baby right here. He's completely surrounded in water and amniotic fluid, which means lamb. So he's completely covered by the lamb. And that's baptism right here. Okay?
Baptism. Infant is thoroughly buried or inundated in water at the time of its birth.
Thoroughly, completely inundated in water. So, some people say, well, do you need to be sprinkled, or do you need to tinkle? No. You're completely covered in water. That's a baptism without hands. You didn't put the water in there, so you better not take the water out, because that's dangerous for the baby. But baptism is fulfilled in utero. If any other thing that will let you know that you do not need to be water baptized, and you worrying about the people out in the jungle in Africa, don't worry about it. Yahweh's got it covered. All of y'all done been baptized if you're here in the flesh, because we all came in the same way, all by a process, basically spirit law, that Yahweh set up that way and not man. Okay? It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right, let's go to the next section. And thought, well, while I'm right here, it's only a page or two, might as well do it. And please read the title.
Allegorical relationship of the brain and heart to show Yahweh imaged as Elohim.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
Okay. In our writings of this book, we have shown on many occasions that Yahweh, being spirit, is without shape and form, but is the limits and bounds, the source and the substance of everything that exists or that is created, visible and invisible. The attributes of Yahweh, love, beauty, wisdom, intelligent knowledge, power, foundation, justice, etc., took on shape and form in Elohim, who is the corporealization of Yahweh.
Okay.
Therefore, Elohim is the expressed image of the Father Yahweh, for he is Yahweh and has always been. He was all of the supernatural of Yahweh in bodily form.
What?
Supernal.
Oh,
Supernal, did I
nature.
say?
Yeah.
Supernal nature of Yahweh in bodily form. Do you want me to do the next paragraph? Or
Um,
just go back because there's scriptures.
Yeah, go back and let's do the
Okay.
scriptures with that.
In our writings in this book, we have shown on many occasions that Yahweh, being spirit, John 4:24,
Yahweh is spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
Yeah, now Yahweh is spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Read.
is without shape and form,
Now, he's without shape and form in his pure spirit state. Read.
but is the limits and bounds, the source and substance of everything that exists or that is created, visible and invisible. The attributes of Yahweh, love, beauty, wisdom, intelligence, knowledge, power, foundation, justice, etc., took on shape and form in Elohim, who is the incorporealization of Yahweh. Therefore, Yahweh is the expressed image of the Father Yahweh, for he is Yahweh and has always been. Hebrews 1-3, Colossians 1-15.
Okay, let's get those. And this is the expressed image of Yahweh Elohim here in this super incorporeal form, meaning that it's not a physical body, it's a spiritual body. Okay, read.
Hebrews 1:3. The Son and the radiance of Yahweh's glory, and the exact image of his being, sustaining all things by his powerful word, after he had provided purification for sins, and he sat down at the right hand of the majesty in heaven. Colossians 1:15. The Son is the image of the invisible Elohim.
The Son is the image of the invisible Elohim that you cannot see. And you can only see Yahweh Elohim in visions and revelations.
The firstborn of all creation.
Now, Yahweh Elohim is the firstborn of all creation. So here you see Yahweh in a pure spirit, and he took on shape and form as Elohim. Elohim is the archetype or the original pattern of the whole entire universe. So everything that was made physical came from Yahweh Elohim. He was the one who carried out the action, so to speak. So it was the creation by the pattern, which he is the pattern that everything is made by. Read.
He was all of the supernal nature of Yahweh in bodily form. Colossians
All
2:9.
of the supernal nature of Yahweh in this bodily form. Got it?
For in the Messiah, all the fullness of the supernal nature lives in bodily form.
Okay. Yep.
How can we know for certain that the above things are true? Do we have something visible to look at to know for a surety that they are true?
Of course.
If the Apostle Paul spoke rightly when he said that the invisible things of Yahweh are understood by the things that are made, then we can look to the pattern or to the physical body which is fashioned after the pattern to find such a visible things. Paul said in Galatians that Mount Sinai in Arabia was allegorically to Mount Moriah or Jerusalem. One could go up into the top of Mount Sinai and look many miles in the distance and see Jerusalem, which was built at an elevated place, Mount Moriah. Moses himself was not permitted to go over the river Jordan to Canaan land, but he viewed the promised land by going up in the mountains and looking over into it. Likewise, when Moses went up into Mount Sinai and the cloud covered the mount, he was detained up there for 40 days. That was the tantamount
Yeah, tantamount.
to being the most being in the most holy place or in the presence of Yahweh himself. Okay.
Now, is that a stopping
Yeah,
spot for
that's
you? Okay. Now, we talk about Moses. Moses was not allowed to go into Canaan's land, and he was cut off basically here at the River Jordan. And in allegory, that is like your most holy place, or he couldn't go into the most holy place. And John the Baptist and Moses they're kind of similar things that happen, but in a different manifestation. And if you know about after John the Baptist baptized Yahshua the Messiah, his head was cut off. So in a type, Moses was cut off at the neck, or right here. And there's a story you can read about where the daughter was dancing and the mother wanted John's head or something. Anyway, it was the daughter, somebody wanted. Anyway, his head was cut off. And that's an allegory to what? Same thing with Moses. When you look at that River Jordan, because here would be at the sixth veil, and here is like at the sixth veil right here. So in type, Moses' head was cut off because he was not allowed to go into Canaan land, just as John's head was physically cut off or removed. So there's a similarity between those two. All right?
How can we know for certain that the above things are true? Do we have something visible to look at to know for a surety that they are true? If the Apostle Paul spoke rightly when he said that the invisible things of Yahweh are understood by the things that are made, Romans 1:19-20.
Because that which may be known of Yahweh is manifest in them.
Manifest in them, read.
Because Yahweh had showed it unto them.
Yahweh has showed it unto them. Read.
For the invisible things of him
The
from
invisible
the creation
things of Yahweh from the creation of the world, read.
of the world are clearly seen,
Clearly seen,
being understood by the things that are made.
understood by the things that are made. And what we're talking about right now is the brain and the heart. Okay.
Even his eternal power and supernal nature, so nature are clearly seen, being understood. Yeah, it was.
It might have been wrong.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Even his eternal power and supernal nature,
So that they are without excuse.
so that they are without excuse.
Yeah, I think I messed it up when I was
It's okay.
pulling it out. But so you take the natural to understand the spiritual, okay?
Then we can look to the pattern or to the physical body which is fashioned after the pattern to find such visible things. Paul said in Galatians that Mount Sinai in Arabia was allegorically to Mount Moriah or Jerusalem. One could go up into the top of Mount Sinai and look many miles in the distance and see Jerusalem, which was built on an elevated place, Mount Moriah. Moses himself was not permitted to go over Jordan River to Canaan land, but he viewed the promised land by going up into the mountains and looking over into it. Deuteronomy 34, 1-4.
Yeah. Okay, let's grab that.
Then Moses climbed Mount Nebo from the plains of Moab to the top of Pisgah, across from Jericho. There Yahweh showed him the whole land from Gilead to Dan, all of Naphtali, the territory of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the Mediterranean Sea, the Negev, the whole region from the valley of Jericho, the city of Psalms as far as Zoar. Then Yahweh said to him, "This is the land I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob when I said, I will give it to your descendants. I have let you see it with your eyes, but you will not cross over into it."
Okay, he could see it with his eyes, but he couldn't cross over. But it was the land that was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay?
Likewise, when Moses went up into Mount Sinai and the cloud covered the mount, he was detained up there for 40 days.
Right
That
here.
was the tantamount to being in the most holy place or in the presence of Yahweh himself. A new paragraph.
So you had the base of the mountain, you had the plateau, and then up here in the higher part of the mountain was like the most holy place. Okay?
A similar situation pertains in our physical bodies, for the heart is allegorically to the brain. There are many points of similarity between the two.
Okay, there's many similarities between the brain and the heart. Okay? Read.
The brain can be likened unto Yahweh, the Father, for it is a forerunner of the heart.
Now, when it talks about a forerunner of the heart, I think he's going to explain it there, how when the baby is born or formed, the brain is formed first. Okay?
For the head of the embryo develops first. Then comes the rest of the body. Furthermore, the brain is seated of all authority in the body. All of the faculties meet their culmination in the brain.
Culmination.
The heart can be likened unto the Son, Elohim, as he has already shown in the previous chapter. Let us now look at some ways that the heart is similar to the brain so that we can understand Elohim, the Son, is the image of Yahweh, the Father.
Okay?
Okay. You want that again, or you just want to keep going?
Keep going.
Okay, the heart has 4 chambers through which circulates a life-giving fluid, the blood. The brain also has 4 chambers called ventricles through which circulates a crystal clear water, which John calls the water of life.
Okay.
Not yet. Called cerebral spinal fluid. This shows forth the everlasting gospel of Yahshua Messiah, or Yahweh's purpose going forth into all 4 corners of the world.
Okay.
Okay. The heart has 4 chambers through which circulates a life-giving fluid.
See these 4 chambers in the heart, and not just that, I don't see a picture of it, but the heart pumps, and then it goes to the aortic arch, which then goes to all parts of the body. But it does have 4 chambers, and that's the point. Read.
The blood. The brain also has 4 chambers called ventricles through which circulates a crystal clear water, which John calls the water of life.
Now, that crystal clear water, it also runs down your spinal cord too, which is called the cerebrum spinal fluid. And it's clear. And it's the clearest liquid in your body. So,
Revelation 20.
yeah, get Revelation.
Wow.
Doo-doo.
Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, as clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of Yahweh and of the Lamb.
Okay, from the throne of Yahweh and the Lamb, just like in your brain, you have that water that comes straight from the brain. Very clear. That's how they do a spinal tap. They find out if you got some disease or something. If that water is not clear, then something is wrong. It needs to be very clear. Okay.
This shows forth the everlasting gospel of Yahshua Messiah, or Yahweh's purpose going forth into all 4 corners of the world. Revelations 14:6.
Okay.
Then I saw another angel flying in midair, and he had the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live on the earth, to every nation, tribe, language, and people.
Okay.
The heart has a covering, pericardium,
Yep.
and the brain has a covering, menses. Elohim was covered by his Father, for he dwelleth in his Father, and Yahweh inhabiteth eternity. The heart sends out blood and has blood returned to it. The brain likewise sends out messages and receives messages from the body. Yahweh has a definite purpose in sending his Son, Elohim, manifested as Yahshua, in the world, for he said, the word has gone out of my mouth and shall not return on me void. That is, Yahweh will reap the benefits of his masterful plan, purpose and plan. He will gather the harvest onto himself, and it will be glorious. Yahshua likewise sent out 12 men, his disciples, into the world to preach the gospel with express purpose of gathering up himself or into himself those who would listen.
Okay. And it's interesting, too, that the blood flows, and it's a bright red color back and forth. You have oxygenated and deoxygenated blood that flows all through your body. And in your nervous system, this sends out messages all through your body, back and forth, you know, like if you touch something hot. In fact, if you touch something hot, there's something called something arc reflex, so that it doesn't even have to go all the way back up to the brain to have you move your hand from that stove because it's hot. So this is sending invisible messages, whereas your blood is bright red and it's flowing back and forth. But you can see it. With the brain, you can't see it. It's invisible, like Yahweh is invisible. But he's working his magic, or I shouldn't say magic, he's working his works. Let's just, don't be putting no magic in there. He be working his will, okay? His purpose, that's right.
Mm-hmm. The heart has a covering, pericardium, and the brain has a covering, meninges. Elohim was covered by his Father, for he dwelt in his Father, John 14:11.
Okay. Might have to look that up. I don't think I got those scriptures. John 14:11. Oh, no, wait, here it is.
You do?
I guess I did. I thought I fell asleep on the job.
John 14:11. Believe me when I say that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. Or at least believe on the evidence of the works themselves.
I am in the Father and the Father's in me. Okay.
And Yahweh inhabiteth eternity, Isaiah 57:15.
For this is what the high and exalted one says, he who lives forever, whose name is holy. I live in a high and holy place, but also with the one who is contrite and lowly in spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly and to revive the heart of the contrite.
Okay.
The heart sends out blood and has blood returned to it. The brain likewise sends out messages and receives messages from the body. Yahweh has a definite purpose in sending his Son, Elohim, manifested as Yahshua in the world. For he said, the word has gone out of my mouth and shall not return unto me void. Isaiah 55:11.
And Yahweh Elohim is the Word or Son. Okay.
So is my word that goeth out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it.
So whatever Yahweh willed, that's what it's going to accomplish. And we know that the purpose and pattern and plan of Yahweh chart on the pattern or plan of salvation. That's what he did all this for. Yahshua, which means Yahweh is salvation. Okay, read.
That is, Yahweh will reap the benefits of his masterful purpose and plan. He will gather the harvest unto himself, and it will be glorious. Yahshua likewise sent out 12 men, his disciples, Matthew 28:19.
Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father,
The Father.
of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Into the world to preach the gospel with the express purpose of gathering onto himself or into himself those who would listen. Ephesians 1:10.
Just leave it on if it'll stay on. It won't.
Ephesians 1:10, to be put into effect when the times reach their fulfillment, to bring unity to all things in heaven and on earth under the Messiah.
The heart, by virtue of its pumping life-giving blood to all the cells of the body, is their life. The brain likewise provides nervous excitability for various parts of the brain. For as long as it is functioning, one responds to nervous stimuli, or he is alive, so to speak. Yahweh is eternal, and he has given eternal life to us through his Son, Yahshua, if we only accept and do his will, which is to believe on his Son. John 6:29.
John 6:29. Yahshua answered and said unto them, This is the work of Elohim, that ye believe on him whom he hath sent.
Now, the work. This is the work. Such hard work. All you got to do is believe on him. You don't have to do all of this stuff under the law or try to work out your salvation or anything. Just believe that he sent you. Believe on Yahshua the Messiah. And you know, I think for some people that is really hard because they feel like they just got to do something. You can't just relax and just have a nice Sabbath. You gotta do something. If somebody pays off my car in full, I'm not gonna go get a job to try to pay off my car. I'm gonna let it be. The first thing I'm gonna say is, oh, thank you. I appreciate your efforts. So then I don't have to worry about that payment or that debt. He had it all taken care of from the beginning. Now he's put all this stuff, so you have a reason to believe that he's already taken care of your salvation. Relax. Relax. Okay.
The heart is an unusual organ being made up of specialized muscle cells, which are peculiar in reference to other muscle cells in the body. See the previous chapter. The brain is also the most extraordinary organ in more ways than one. It is also made up of many cells that are very different from other cells of the body. Yahshua is somewhat unusual too, in that he was the only begotten son of the Father and was conceived by a virgin mother. Yahweh is rather peculiar too, in that he always was all and always shall be. He has no beginning or ending, and he is the one and the only Father, for there is none beside him. Isaiah 45:5.
Okay.
Isaiah 45:5.
You might.
It's not in here. I am Yahweh, and there is none else. There is no Elohim besides me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me.
And he took care of us when we didn't even know who he was. So then when we found out, all we can do is say, thank you, Father. Appreciate all that you have given us and all that you have taught us. And yes, I believe.
The heart is surrounded by 12 ribs on either side, making 24 in all.
Okay. The heart is surrounded by 12 ribs. 12, or does it say 12 ribs or?
It says surrounded by 12 ribs on either side, making 24 in all.
Exactly. So you got 12 on this side and 12 on this side with a total of 24. Read.
The brain has 12 cranial nerves that proceed from it on either side, making 24 in all.
Okay. Here's a picture right here of the nerves that come down from the brain, and the only one that goes all the way down is the vagus nerve, because you know they like to travel. So that one goes all the way down to the abdomen, but the rest of them are in the head cavity, but they're paired. So it's not just the olfactory, it's paired, so it's two. The optic is two. You got two eyes. So, and even the vagus is paired. There's two of them, okay? All right, read.
Yahshua the Messiah was preceded by the 12 heads of the tribe of Israel, which were under the law of Moses, and he was followed by the 12 apostles who were under the dispensation of grace.
Okay, you had the 12 tribes here, and then he chose 12 apostles. So there was 12 back here with Moses, and there was 12 back here with Yahshua the Messiah. Read.
John on the Isle of Patmos spoke of the 24 elders gathered around the throne of Yahweh.
Okay, now
Revelations 4:4.
Here's John talking about the 24 elders. Go ahead and read John 4:24. Revelation.
Revelation 4:4. Surrounding the throne were 24 other thrones, and seated on them were 24 elders. They were dressed in white and had crowns of gold on their heads.
Okay, there's 24. That's the point there. Now she's going to go to the diagram on the side, and it's going to compare the heart and the brain. Okay?
Heart. Heart has 4 chambers. Brain has 4 ventricles. I can't say it. Ventricles. Heart is a circulating fluid, blood. Brain has circulating fluid, the cerebral spinal fluid.
Cerebral.
It's CERBROSPINAL.
Cerebral.
Yeah, cerebral fluid. Okay, a heart sends out blood and receives blood. The brain sends out messages and receives messages.
Right.
Heart has a covering, the pericardium, lungs on either side. The brain has a covering, the meninges, the hemisphere on
meninges.
either side.
With what on either side?
Hemispheres.
Oh. With
Left
the
and right
right, oh, wait,
hemisphere?
whoa, right
the
over
brain?
here. It has the right and the left hemisphere. Here, it shows it right here. Left hemisphere, right hemisphere. And those hemispheres don't touch in the middle, just like the Ark of the Covenant had an archangel on each side, but they didn't touch in the middle. And that is a type of the brain, okay?
The pulsations of the heart is
brain is a
visible
type.
expression of life in the body.
Say that again?
The pulsations of the heart is the visible expression of life in the body.
Oh, okay. So when somebody passes out, one of the first things you do is check to see if they have a pulse, to see if their blood is still pumping, okay?
The brain waves are rhythmic and necessary for life, but are invisible.
Exactly. And when you go to the hospital, I think they call it EKG. Is that what they call where they check the brain waves? He's
I thought
like,
that-
I don't know.
I thought that was for checking your heart.
Yeah, there's one that checks the brain waves.
Okay.
Well, EEG gets the brainwave.
The EG, EK,
Connects, does the brainwaves. EKG or ECG
does the heart. Okay, it's EG, EEG for the brain, EKG for the heart.
I had had that.
I never knew that.
Egg for the brain.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Nothing.
Say it.
Go ahead.
Speak your mind, child.
Heart muscle fibers are unusual in reference to their nervous excitability. Brain cells are unusually adapted cells for special function of nerve impulses. The heart sits in the chest cavity or the holy place.
Right here.
The brain rests in the cranial cavity or the most holy place. The heart is in shape and form. The brain is apparently without shape and form.
Yeah, like they say, the brain is without any particular shape and form, but it is encased in the skull, so it don't fall out. But you put it on the table, and I guess it just mush. But doesn't the brain have some kind of little covering so that it doesn't? Okay, I thought
The
so.
meninges.
The meninges. What's a meninge?
It's, they're membranes. It's a threefold membrane.
Threefold membrane. Okay. Amazing, it's threefold that covers the brain. Okay.
Naturally, they're called mothers.
Yes, the dura mater and the
Pia mater and
the pia mater and the arachna. Yeah.
The heart is surrounded by 12 ribs on either side, 24 in all.
Here we go.
The brain is surrounded by 12 nerves on either side, or 24 in all.
Here we go.
Absent of a heartbeat produces a type of sleep death. Absent of a brain function produces a type of sleep coma.
Coma. So you sleep death, you gotta have your heart beating and your brain functioning, or you cease to exist.
Heart
ahead.
provides sustaining blood. The brain provides nervous excitability or awareness of feeling of being alive.
So when you touch and you can feel, that means your brain is working to send out the impulses. And a lot of people with diabetes, that's one of the problems, is that the nerves are damaged or they die. So sometimes they'll hit their feet and they won't feel it, and it'll be all bruised up, and you're just walking around like nothing happened because your brain evidently through the nerves didn't get the message to the feet. And you know, it's really, sometimes pain is a good thing, because if you didn't have pain and you just put your hand down on a hot stove and you couldn't feel it, you're gonna burn up. That was a problem with, what's that disease they had back in the day? Leprosy. That was it, leprosy, because their nerve endings would die, or they couldn't feel, and eventually they'd just be bumping and bruising and they couldn't feel. So it's a good thing that your nervous system is working so that you can feel things and know when to avoid danger.
It's called congenital insensitivity. It's a condition where you cannot feel pain.
Say that again loudly.
Congenital insensitivity to pain, where you cannot feel pain. It's a rare condition in a person where they have never felt physical pain.
Yeah, no. Sometimes you wish you couldn't feel no physical pain at certain moments, like in childbirth, but evidently, is that it? Okay. Well, that's it for the sections, and I'm thankful to Yahshua Messiah for giving us the knowledge and the understanding of these things, because everything points right back to him. So you can't help but to believe him when he says, I am, that you can't help believe Yahshua, which means Yahweh is salvation. That's what this whole thing was set up for our salvation. With that, I say hallelujah.
We only have about 20 minutes left, so rather than start the next section, we're going to open the floor to testimonies. Let's start that, okay? All right, since it doesn't look like we have any volunteers for testimony, but tonight is our after-class Q&A. So I guess we're going to start that. So if we have a question back there, Dr. Pettigrew or somebody here in the classroom has a question, let's begin that.
Thank you. Well, okay, so, we're welcome to have other questions come in, but there was something that was called in the other day that I thought I would mention. And others may know something about this that I'm not aware of, so if anybody is aware of anything documented about this, then I would appreciate your input. In other words, when I say documented, if there's anything you know of that Dr. Kinley taught that you can find in lectures, transcripts, textbook, etc. But the issue that came up was where the question about what was the significance, what was the meaning of the woman who would take off her deceased husband's brother's shoe in the event that her deceased husband's brother refused to redeem her. Okay? And this occurred when you go back to let me give you context for this. If you go back to Deuteronomy 25, and I am going to say it starts around verse 8. And then you can go to Ruth. I'm going to say it's about chapter 3, verse 1. But Deuteronomy 25. And it's there. So this is what is being referred to. And it's one of the procedures, a legal procedure involved with what is called redemption. Okay? Now, we realize that Yahshua is the Redeemer of mankind from Satan. Okay? And he had to follow all the law and the procedures that were necessary to fulfill what was needed to redeem. Yahweh set up a legal system, the law of carnal ordinances, which incorporated certain practices that were physical. That's why they're carnal ordinances, that showed principles like redemption. Now, I don't want to go into big details about redemption, but redemption is the process of recovery of something that is lost or taken away. And there, in Yahweh's kingdom, when Yahweh had the children of Israel in the promised land here, he distributed the land to the people by the name of each of the tribes, and then that plot of land was to be distributed. It would be broken up and given to the children and the children's children and the children's children, so that that section of land would always remain in the name of that tribe, okay, which was really like the name of the father, because the tribes were named for the father of the tribe. That's these 12 that are listed here. And so the property, the real estate, the real property, was supposed to remain in the name of that particular family, that man there. And then also the people, the land was there as a gift, as Yahweh's gift. It was really like a wedding present to his people. And the land was given to them for the purpose of sustaining them, bringing forth life, their crops and everything that they needed to live, and to have children and carry on and multiply. Yahweh wanted them to multiply and continue life. Okay? So it's a symbol of Yahweh giving them a way to have eternal life in a place that would sustain them and give them what is a symbol of glorification in the Spirit. Now, if the land was sold away to someone outside the family, or if a person in that land became so poor that they became basically a slave, an indentured servant, and therefore could not actually live in the land that Yahweh gave them, but was taken somewhere else, then that was a threat to the loss of the kingdom land that Yahweh gave them and to the life in that kingdom land. So as a way of Yahweh protecting and saving his entire kingdom, he provided ways to redeem those that were lost, both the people and the land. Now, one of the unique little procedures that was involved with that was to try to ensure that if a man died before he had any sons to inherit his property, his land, and carry on his name, which would be like carrying on his life, if he died before he had any sons, Yahweh provided a way to still keep the land and the people that were the sons, the decedent's family, his wife. He'd married a wife and so forth. She was to be kept and not lost, okay? And the land was to be kept and not lost. And it was considered the responsibility, the duty of the brother or the nearest kin of the decedent, of the man that died. It was considered his duty and responsibility to marry the wife and take her in, take care of her as his own wife. Okay, but again, remember, this is the brother of the man that died, so she's going to be marrying a man with the same name, basically. And he's going to be the one that lives literally next door. The same property line would be common to them in general. And then he was to raise up a son that would then become the heir of his dead brother's property. So that would save the name and the inheritance of the dead brother. And that was a procedure. So in other words, a brother was to take the wife of his brother, if the brother died before he had a son to inherit the land, and the one that took him was to take care of his family, wife, children, and so forth, but there wouldn't be a son, and then to provide an heir to his brother. He's saving his brother's name, he's saving his brother's family, saving his brother's inheritance. And this is all part of saving a part of Yahweh's kingdom that was to be set up in exactly the way that Yahweh originally had divided out the kingdom. Okay? Now, this procedure about the wife is in Deuteronomy 5, and I forget which verses,
25.
but you'll find it in there. Where is it?
It's 25, 9, really.
Starting at 9? Okay.
It can be there, or 8, really.
That's fine.
Then the elders of his city shall call him and speak unto him, and if the priest and says, I have no desire to take her.
Oh, can you back up a little so that we get a few verses so that we get the procedure listed? I kind of mentioned it, but I want you to...
Let's do 5 then.
Okay, please.
Okay, 25 and 5. If brethren dwell together and one of them die and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry abroad unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife and perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, and his name be not put out of Israel.
Okay.
And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gates unto the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel.
Okay, let me just pause for a minute. So, that was what his duty was to do this. What he's doing is basically saving his brother's name, his family, his property, and so forth. And this is a process called redemption. He is saving that which is lost. And of course, all souls were lost to sin with Satan. Yahshua the Messiah is the one that came in and redeemed them. Okay, and that's what this is all pointing to. But in this case, you can't force this man. It's his duty, but you can't force him to carry through with that duty. So if he says, no, I don't want to marry her, I'm not going to do it, then this is what the wife, the widow, is supposed to do. She goes to the gate of the city, to the elders, and does
says,
what?
my husband's brother refuses to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of the city shall call him and speak unto him, and if he persists and says, I have no desire to take her, then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders, loose his shoe from off his foot, and spit in his face, and shall answer and say, so shall it be done unto the man that will not build up his brother's house.
Okay, so she's supposed to take his shoe off his foot in the presence of everybody, okay? So his shoe is removed by her. She spits in his face and says, this is the way it is to be with the man that refuses to raise up a name to his brother, okay? Go
And
ahead.
his name shall be called in Israel the house of him that hath shewed loosed.
And his name, his reputation, and this is going to carry on down through for his kids, it shall be called the house of him. Okay, in other words, that's his household. The house of him that has his shoe loosed. Okay, and so the emphasis there, the question that was involved with, what is the significance, the symbolism of the man having his shoe loosed or shoe taken off? Is that the end of that? That's the end of that. Okay, all right.
You had Ruth 3.
And then Ruth 3 shows where this procedure was used with Ruth and Naomi, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but this is how the scriptures say that this same law was applied when it comes to Ruth. Now, Ruth was going to be redeemed by Boaz, but there was a nearer kin that had first right of refusal, or the first right to claim the redemption and to perform the redemption. And this man is not named in the book of Ruth, but Boaz is required to make sure that this nearer kin, who has the first right of claim, be given the opportunity to either redeem Ruth along with Naomi and the land, or to refuse to do it. Okay? Go ahead and read.
That's really 4 and 5.
Is it chapter 4?
Yeah.
Chapter 4 is fine.
Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, you must buy it also of Ruth of the Moabites, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I cannot... Kinsman.
Yeah, not a king.
Kinsman
Yeah,
said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance.
Right.
Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it.
So he says, no, I can't redeem it, which really meant he refused to redeem it. He didn't want to. And so then he says to Boaz, you go ahead and redeem it. Okay? All right, go ahead and read.
Now this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel.
So the man that refused to redeem would have to then have his shoe loosed or shoe removed, okay? And that's what he was referring to as what we read in Deuteronomy 25.
Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, Buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe.
Okay, so there you go. All right. And the question had to do with what is the significance of the removal of the shoe. This is something I'm going to tell you is interesting, and I don't have an absolute definite answer for. I can tell you what I have researched and found is the normal commentaries, and I'm not going to take a lot of time. I can go back and do this later. I'm trying to finish this so we can close class and then, let people go and we can restart again. But in general, from what I've found in the commentaries, is that the idea was that when somebody had property, like real estate, it would be shown that what they're doing is putting their foot on that property, stepping on it as a claim. And that would be done with the foot that had their shoe, and if their shoe was then removed, it was showing that that claim was then being removed. That's like the quick and dirty explanation for all the things that I've seen in the commentaries. I am not sure that that is 100% correct or the whole story. There is one other comment that I've heard offered on this, which is, I will say, a cute sounding spiritual idea. And that is the idea that when somebody has their shoe taken off, their soul is being bared. Okay? And that statement has been used many times by people when they talk about the fact that Moses had to take his shoes off his feet because the place that he was on in the presence of Elohim was holy ground, so he was bearing his soul to Elohim. I don't know of anything in Dr. Kinley's lectures, the Bible, or anything else that would confirm that idea. Like I say, it's a cute sounding idea, and there may be some validity to it, but I do not know of anything that can confirm that or something really different. And if somebody knows the answer, I am inviting them to actually provide that. And of course, we've got email and other forms for people to provide documentation for that. So unless there's somebody here right now that actually knows and can give us the answer to all that. But that question had come up, and I just wanted to bring it up because it had been presented. So, all right. So if somebody knows more about it, please email us. You've got the email address, tjwelsh at sbcglobal.net. And other than that, I'm going to close class. We can start if there's other questions that are brought in immediately after class. We can start again and just have a quick after class session, but this hopefully will take care of what we have for tonight. Okay, thank you. Praise Yahshua.
Thank you, Dr. Welsh. That brings a close to our class for the evening. I hope everybody enjoyed that and got something out of it. Let's all rise for the doxology so that we may be dismissed. I'll be quoting the last two verses of the book of Jude from the Holy Name Bible. Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling, and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy, to the only wise Elohim our Savior, through Yahshua the Messiah, our Sovereign, belong glory and majesty, dominion and power, both before all time and now and ever. Let us all say, Hallelujah.
saved. Yahweh doesn't deal in numbers. Yahweh only deals in faith. Tell me, will you go the distance or fall by the way? I wouldn't get too careless. There's still a lot of room in the lake. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Take a look at the ark, yeah. Only 8 souls were saved. Now that's not a multitude, but a warning to behave, yeah. And do you have the right stuff? I mean the spirit of the Son. Getting ready will not be enough. When the universal revelation comes, are you faithful, diligent and true, believing on His Son, the one who died for you? Are you faithful, committed to the run? Yahweh gave His only Son for you, for you. The love of many has grown cold, long gone astray. They wouldn't wait for the promise, threw eternal life away, gave their souls to the devil, turned their backs on the Son, yeah. Now they got no excuse, for they would not believe that He would overcome. Are you faithful, diligent and true, believing on His Son, the one who died for you? Are you faithful, committed to the run? Yahweh gave His only Son. Are your eyes on the King, heart set on the prize? Is the song that you sing this gospel of life? Are you ready for the change, for the good fight? Do you know your name? Is it blotted in the book of life? Are you giving diligence that your election sure? Are you holy, are you blameless, and is your conscience pure? Are you dressed in a white robe?